Thank you, Steph. Well, concern on the rise at the Toronto District School Board. 7 of their schools reporting COVID-19 cases. All staff, just as students return to class. Now, this is a list of all those schools, each with 1 case of the virus. There are, 3 are at high schools, 4 more at the elementary level. The TDSB says they have protocols to handle positive cases, including working with Toronto Public Health when it comes to contact tracing. Meantime, in York Region, an entire class at Little Rouge Public School in Markham isolating after 1 student tested positive. So far, there are 27 schools with reported cases in Ontario. And the Education Minister says he will move all students online if the situation gets dire.
If we need to do that in the context of going remote, the province will do whatever it takes to make that transition.
But are we ready to have students learn solely online? We are taking a closer look in the next hour. At 7:40, tips to stay safe during online class. And then at 8 o'clock, City News reporter Erica Natividad, she's going to join us to discuss the surge of students who have opted for remote schooling this fall. Now, with the numbers of COVID rising in the province, the Premier in the coming days is set to introduce new guidelines to help fight hotspots in Ontario. Premier Ford says he has spoken with the mayors of Toronto, Brampton and Ottawa, cities that have seen the bulk of new COVID cases in recent weeks, about their needs. Ontario reporting 251 cases of COVID-19 yesterday. 73 reported in Toronto, 51 in Ottawa, 42 in Peel. The Premier insists if a second wave is coming, we are getting prepared. The opposition isn't so sure.
My friends, when it comes to ventilators, testing, contact tracing, when it comes to vital PPE, we're working around the clock to get ready.
How does this government expect families to believe that they have a plan for the second wave when their current plan is actually unraveling before our eyes?
The Premier has hinted he may move areas back to stage 2 of reopening if things don't improve. Now, coming up here at 6:30, we will be speaking to Toronto Fire Chief Matthew Pegg, who has been put in charge once again of the city's COVID emergency response team ahead of that possible second wave. A funeral will be held today for a volunteer caretaker of a Toronto mosque who was stabbed to death on Saturday. 58-year-old Mohammed Aslim Zafis was outside the mosque on Rexdale Boulevard when the attack happened. Police are investigating whether his death is linked to the murder 5 days earlier of Rampreet Peter Singh. The homeless man was stabbed less than 5 kilometers away along the West Humber Trail. Police are not ruling out the possibility of a serial killer. So far, there has been no arrest, but a suspect photo was released. The mosque and police are warning people to be vigilant about their surroundings. The funeral will be at the International Muslim Organization Mosque at 11:30. Let's get to BC now, where still no relief as smoke from wildfires along the U.S. West Coast continues to smother much of the province. A very high-risk air quality level that remains over most of southern BC, including the Lower Mainland and Vancouver Island. Officials are warning people to avoid exercising outdoors and advising those with pre-existing health conditions to be careful. Canada Post has suspended mail delivery, saying it is unsafe for employees to do their job right now. Coming up on BT Canada at 9 this morning, we will be talking to City News anchor Mary Cranston live from BC about the latest with how the province is coping. Well, the United States backtracking on its tariff on Canadian aluminum just before Ottawa was about to impose retaliatory sanctions, and Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland says Canada won't back down in the future.
Should tariffs be reimposed on our aluminum exports in the future, Canada will retaliate with perfectly reciprocal dollar-for-dollar tariffs, as we have done in the past.
The Trump administration ending the 10% tariff just a month after it was imposed to ease tensions. The U.S. had said that an influx of Canadian aluminum justified the levy, but that shipments of Canadian aluminum are returning to normal. The tariffs were actually criticized by American business groups that claimed the tax raised their costs for manufacturing. Meanwhile, there are reports that Canada will be keeping its border closed with the U.S. until the end of November. We'll be talking more about that in just a bit. if or when a second wave of this virus hits, the question is, will Toronto be prepared? That's a very important question. So as mentioned earlier, we will be talking to Fire Chief Matthew Pegg. He joins us live at 6:30, and it's coming just days after he resumed that role as city's emergency response to COVID-19.